Within the silence of night, when the world finally quiets, another voice begins to whisper. It's not the voice of reason, nor of belief. It's the voice of a question, one that has haunted minds for centuries, and that, perhaps, has no answer. What if God is dead? Wait, before you react, before the word God triggers a wall in your mind pause. I'm not talking about religion, not about the bearded figure painted on chapel ceilings, not the God of rituals or books. I speak of the force, the principle, the mystery, that unnameable presence once felt behind the stars, in a child's laughter, in a moment of awe. And the question is not whether it's real. The question is, what if it's gone? Or worse, what if it was never there? In the 19th century, Nietzsche dared to say it aloud, God is dead, and we have killed him. But what did he really mean? Was it blasphemy, metaphor, or a truth too terrifying for most to face? Nietzsche saw the Enlightenment, our age of science, rationality, and secular ethics, as a double-edged sword. It freed us from superstition, yes, but it also dismantled the structures that gave life transcendental meaning. We walk now on dangerous ground, not to offend, but to awaken. What if everything you've believed was built on silence, on traditions inherited, not understood? For millennia, humanity looked up, to the sky, the stars, the thunder. We carved gods into stone, built temples to silence our fear of chaos. We begged for meaning. We punished ourselves for sins we invented. We created order to escape the void. But what if there is no order, no plan, no eternal hand guiding the cosmos, just entropy and accidents and time and nothing? Can you live with that? Why does the universe exist? Some say a quantum fluctuation, a mathematical probability. Some say it just does, but something inside you trembles at that. Why? Is it because the absence of meaning feels like death? Or because somewhere, buried under your logic, there's still a yearning to believe? Albert Camus wrote of the absurd, the conflict between our desire for meaning and the indifferent silence of the world. He did not urge despair, but rebellion. To live with dignity in spite of the absurd. What is more terrifying? A world ruled by a cruel God, or a world with no God at all? Science offers comfort in data, but science can't explain why beauty makes us weep, why music stirs something ancient in us, why we crave purpose with the desperation of hunger. Is that longing the fingerprint of the divine, or a cruel evolutionary illusion? Nietzsche warned, we didn't just stop believing in God. We stopped looking for him outside and dared to look within. But when we looked inward, many found nothing. No divine spark, no voice, just silence. The inner temple was empty, or maybe it always was. And that is where the real fear begins. Imagine this possibility. Every emotion you've ever felt, love, sorrow, wonder, are just the result of electrical patterns and chemical surges. Every prayer, every sign, every miracle. Nothing more than your brain projecting meaning onto chaos. Does that make you feel hollow? Or does it liberate you? Because if there is no God, then you are not bound. You are not judged. You are free. But free to do what? To create meaning? Or to drown in the weight of meaninglessness? That's the trap. Without a higher purpose, the responsibility falls on you. If there is no divine script, you must write the story. And that, for many, is too heavy a burden. It's easier to believe in a judge, in a reward, in a cosmic father watching. But what if the heavens are empty? No hell, no heaven, no final judgment, just the eternal cycle of becoming and dissolving. And you, a momentary fling dancing in the wind of time. And the soul? If God is dead, did the soul die too? Hermetists believe the all is mind, that the universe is mental, shaped by intention. Alchemists sought the anima mundi, the soul of the world. But what if these were just our last attempts to breathe life into a dying God? Look around. Look honestly. Does the world seem guided or abandoned? You meet someone by chance. A déjà vu. A dream that becomes real. Is it fate? Or the desperate hope that something is behind the curtain? Coincidence? Or synchronicity? A message from the hidden divine? Or just a pattern your mind invented to stay sane? What if God never existed? What if the gods were mirrors? Not creators? Reflections of our fear, our hopes, our need to matter. And just imagine, what if God exists but no longer cares? A cosmic force asleep or bored or watching from afar as the universe burns. An absent God is worse than a dead one, because absence implies you are never worth staying for. And yet, you're still here, still asking, still reaching. Why? Simone de Beauvoir said, "To lose faith in God is to free ourselves, but also to become the God of our own existence." Nietzsche said, "When you gaze long into the abyss also gazes into you." But what if the abyss is God? Not a being, but a silence. Not an answer, but the invitation to ask deeper. What if the void is sacred? Because here's the paradox. Maybe God never wanted to be found. Maybe the divine was never out there. Maybe it was always meant to be created from within. By you, by your courage to question, to live without certainty, to walk in the dark, and still light a flame. And if God is dead, who sits on the throne now? Reason? Science? Or the unchecked ego of mankind, drunk on its own freedom? Jean-Paul Sartre once said, "Man is condemned to be free, and this freedom can be unbearable." Without God, there are no guarantees, no promised justice, only the raw truth of existence. Is this liberation, or a prison without walls? Elie Wiesel once asked, "Where is God now?" The answer came, hanging from this gallows. Perhaps in every atrocity left unanswered, God vanishes further. So then, is this silence the voice of a dead God? Or the breathless awe before a God that never needed words? Maybe we were never meant to find God. Maybe we were meant to become Him. And so I ask again, what do you feel now? Doubt? Peace? Fear? Freedom? Maybe. All of them. Maybe that's the point. Because perhaps the greatest illusion was that God ever needed to exist for life to matter. Maybe meaning was never given. Maybe it must be forged. And maybe, just maybe, the only real God is the act of questioning itself. And so I ask again, what if God is dead? And more importantly, what will you do now that the sky is silent?